Vinaka, Madam MC, Deputy Director for USAID, Mr. Michael Schiffer, the Director for USAID, who will, I assume, be joining us shortly, Zima Semenegas, who I had the pleasure of meeting a few days ago, Secretary General for the Pacific Islands Forum, the Honorable Dr. Henry Puna, USP Vice Chancellor Professor Alawalia, distinguished guests, fellow ICT advocates, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me again, on behalf of the government of Fiji, welcome USAID back into Fiji and echo Fiji's keenness and also the keenness of the Pacific Islands to unlock development opportunities with USAID. And I can see that you have hit the ground running. Mulvinaka, and a very good afternoon to you all. It is my pleasure to be here today to be present at the launch of USAID's Digital Connectivity and Cybersecurity Partnership, or as it's now commonly called, or will be called, DCCP. As we all know, DCCP covers 12 Pacific Island countries, including Fiji, and focuses on two areas that we are also prioritizing as a nation. Firstly, access to meaningful connectivity and digital services, and secondly, bolstering cybersecurity efforts across government, the private sector, and communities. Therefore, strategic partnerships and programs like this, the DCCP, and close consultation with stakeholders are key components to ensure that we progress towards a more sustainable and inclusive digital economy. As a keen advocate for regionalism, I don't know what it is, Dr. Puna, but in the last probably 3 weeks, I've probably attended more regional meetings and initiatives in the last 3 weeks, and personally, from a personal perspective, it is all part of one of Fiji's greatest endeavors is to really continue to connect the nation regionally, and for that, DCCP is another avenue through which we can continue to foster regionalism. And of course, the institution of the University of the South Pacific is the shining example of what regionalism can do when we all work together. I would like to talk a bit about the efforts undertaken in these two important areas and the opportunities that the strategic partners can bring to national efforts and the areas it can make impact regionally. The coalition government, as you know, has been in place for 8 months, and more than ever is making strides to improve meaningful connectivity and invest in modern and resilient ICT infrastructure. 5G testing is underway, and we are cognizant of the criticality that 5G networks and how it is needed for new and emerging technologies across our economies. In Fiji, we have 95% internet connectivity through our 3G and 4G plus networks, and to ensure meaningful universal connectivity, we are in close collaboration with the telecommunication operators and relevant stakeholders to identify the remaining 5% of our people who are inadequately connected or not connected at all to the online world. 240 remote and maritime sites nationwide have already been identified, and in taking an holistic approach, we are working with all the provincial officers to identify any other community that is not covered in the 240 declared sites. This is to ensure that when we roll forward and we progress, we connect a whole province, not just a few villages, our communities sparingly. Fiji is also part of the UN Smart Island Program, and Rotuma has been identified as the pilot island. The goal is to address socio-economic challenges and improve livelihoods by connecting our people in Rotuma to a suite of digitally enabled services through the use of new and emerging technology and digital transformation. A scoping exercise has been completed, which is under review. Once the Smart Island program is successfully rolled out in Rotuma, we can use those insights and deploy it to other unconnected and underserved areas, not only in Fiji, but across the Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen, to enhance our resilience and provide diversity, there are discussions underway on a building of a second submarine cable station here in Vitilevu. As part of our disaster recovery preparedness, we have procured 8 sets of emergency satellite equipment, which can be pre-positioned in various divisions to rapidly deploy communications. As I mentioned earlier, seamless access to digital services is a priority in the coalition government. Various services have been digitized, starting with the registries that deal with identity, namely the Registry of Births, Deaths, Marriages, and the Register of Companies. And this is to ensure that government services continue to be customer-centric. We must be agile, and the teams in the ministry are constantly looking for areas for improvement that meets the mandate of the agencies and is user-friendly and seamless for our people. Through the Business Now project, we are in phase 1. We are attempting to unify 8 starting a business services into one online platform. This is made possible through our investment in the Fiji Integrated Licenses and Permits Approval System. Once this platform goes live, for the first time, local and foreign investors will be able to complete the starting a business process from the comfort of their own homes and offices. This will continue into phase 2, which will add another 17 services utilized for building permit approvals. The second priority area is, of course, cybersecurity. And this is even more pivotal as more of our people become digitally savvy. As we offer more digital services, cybersecurity ensures sustainable digital transformation and protects development by safeguarding supply chains, financial systems, intellectual property, and critical infrastructure, to name a few. We have a cybercrime law that is aligned to the Budapest Convention, which is not only the international instrument on electronic evidence and cybercrime. We are also in the process of establishing a National Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT, once the study of CERT is finalized. We have also commenced discussions on drafting our national cybersecurity strategy, and we will be looking at data protection frameworks next. Our efforts to accede to and becoming a party to the Budapest Convention is advancing. In the last parliamentary session, the Parliamentary Standing Committee submitted their report on the accession and recommending Fiji's accession. I look forward to this report being tabled for debate, and we continue to bolster cybersecurity efforts as a nation and as a region. Through capacity building, we have facilitated dedicated capacity building workshops for criminal justice authorities, including the judiciary, the prosecution, law enforcement, and policy agencies, and we will continue to prioritize these efforts. We are actively participating and leading the global front through the UN technology-specific negotiations, which identify what states should and should not be doing in the cyberspace, and discussing the norms of responsible state behavior. Fiji is also part of the Indo-Pacific Framework, or IPEF, negotiations, and is closely working with the US, which is chairing IPEF. IPEF will be a critical instrument in advancing Fiji's economic cooperation with major trading partners who constitute about 60% of the world's global population and 40% of GDP. The IPEF agreement, which is a first of its kind, has a dedicated chapter on digital economy within Pillar 1. Fiji, of course, is the only Pacific country that is part of IPEF at the moment, but I am hoping that as part of the spillover, the region can benefit as well. Fiji is obviously the smallest part of, is the smallest economy in IPEF, and is welcoming the opportunities that are baked into IPEF in the chapter of digital economy, for example. Fiji is positive that the commitments outlined in the areas such as promotion of resilient and secure digital infrastructure, facilitating the use of digital technology and access to information, will allow Fiji to continue to align its digital transformation network infrastructure and legislative standards accepted by all IPEF partners. With digital servers and infrastructure standards in parallel with that of IPEF partners, Fiji will be able to expand into markets not possible, and hopefully, like I said, the region will benefit as a result. Completion of all these commitments, as Fiji has highlighted before, will require support from our partners like the US to ensure that Fiji is able to meet its commitments and access the benefits in full. Therefore, we look forward to the continuing engagement under IPEF in the next few months. Coming back to the region, in 2 weeks' time, I will be honored to be part of a meeting with fellow ICT ministers to take stock of developments in the digital transformation and cybersecurity and discuss how we will progress the 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific continent. In closing, there are so many things that we can achieve as a guild with the support of partners like USAID and the DCCP, and we will continue to promote open, secure, accessible, and peaceful ICT environments which will drive a more prosperous and resilient region. I thank you all for courteously being here today for today's launch, and let us all band together, prioritizing the digital connectivity and cybersecurity in our collective region. May God bless the USAID, may God bless the Pacific region, and may God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those great remarks. On the note of Pacific regionalism, collaboration, working together, integrity, and also inclusive and multi-stakeholder community, I would now say that our chief guests have officially launched the USAID Pacific Digital Connectivity and Cybersecurity Project. Thank you so much for your presence, and also thank you so much for your great insights today.